Hi, I'm Meg Leader. I'm the creator of PRêT, Camille, and this is the True North Country Comics podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. On this episode, I chat with Meg Leader about her graphic novel PRêT Camille and more. Please like and subscribe to this website by hitting the subscribe button so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Meg Leader is a professional 2D animator with WildBrain and has a bachelor's in performance art. Originally from Guelph, Ontario, she's resided in Vancouver, British Columbia for the past decade. Meg strives to give a fresh voice to women and team up with other minority groups to give Canada and the world a new perspective on storytelling. Meg is highly influenced by comics from the West and the East. She adopted her style from past great artists like Bryan Lee O'Malley, Craig Thompson, Kentaro Miura, and Natsuki Takaya, author of her favorite manga, Fruits Basket. Her latest graphic novel is PRêT Camille. PRêT Camille is the story of Camille, an enthusiastic 16-year-old living in Vancouver's West End with her father. Life seems to be going just peachy for Camille. She spends every moment she can training to be the best female fencer, a title she's claimed at her high school. With Camille so used to everything going her way, how shaken will her world be when the best Canadian fencer transfers to their school from Toronto? And will she finally face the turmoil regarding her mother's abandonment? So without further ado, here's my chat with Meg Leader about her graphic novel PRêT Camille and more. So Meg Leader, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate your time. Before I get going with all the questions, I would like to know, what was the first comic book that you read?
This is a really difficult question. It was definitely a manga. I was super into shoujo manga when I was little. It could have been Sailor Moon. I was really into that generation of manga. I started to get into comic books, I think, because of Scott Pilgrim, because I was quite young when Scott Pilgrim came out. I was never really a Marvel girl, per se. It was more indie comics, and then a bunch of work from the East, and then Canadian work in the community, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That's for sure. So great stuff when you're growing up, but I'm wondering who or what inspires you to create today?
Definitely people in my community. I started doing comic books because I work with so many amazing people in the animation industry. We will get to that soon. One of my coworkers, who is an amazing storyboard artist, Danielle Smith Fisher, she started creating her own comic, and I've always done my own stories, but not outwardly. And I guess I was so busy with animation, I didn't know when I would ever get the chance. So she really inspired me. Brenda Hickey really inspires me. I met her at the East Coast Comic Expo last year. All the guys at Raid are super great in Toronto. Shout out to Ramon. He helps me a lot when I have questions on this journey. Yeah, so it's pretty cool to say all people I know inspire me and push me to keep going. People help me with backgrounds, give me advice. I do everything myself, but I'm not too proud to ask for help from people who have expertise in fields that I need in the comic world. So, yeah.
That's very wise. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So we're here talking about your latest graphic novel, PRêT Camille. So I wonder if you could tell me, what is it all about?
So really, really simply, it's a coming of age story, and it focuses on our main character, Camille, and she is a female fencer in Vancouver. It's really important that I showcase Canadian landscapes and all the different aspects of Canadian culture in my work. So yeah, it's her growing up in the West End of Vancouver with her father and really coming into her own. And she's so focused on being the best fencer. But at the end of the day, what does that really mean? She needs to find her purpose in the world through all of her peers, She has a pretty interesting relationship with her mother, who went back to Brazil when she was 5. And she has to come to terms with all of that, do some healing, and yeah, it's the journey with all the people around her. Yeah,
Cool.
that's pretty much all I want to say.
Okay, very good, very good. Just honing in on this particular project, can you talk about your creative process in making this book?
Yeah, for sure. I went through kind of like a pre-production stage where I designed the characters, went through like different expression sheets, and took a lot of inspiration from the landscapes around me in Vancouver, as well as the architecture. And now I thumbnail traditionally, and then I use Procreate. I would love to do everything digitally, but because this is the first big project I'm doing by myself, just makes a lot more sense to be able to adjust things. So yeah, then I do my roughs and inking digitally. Oh, I started with a screenplay too. Like for me, it's so important to have all the arcs mapped out beforehand and know where I'm going in the story. And I write all of my dialogue in Scrivener, and I have my editor go through. He really believes in me and kind of just goes through and asks questions for clarity and cleans up and tightens up the dialogue. But he knows where the story is going, so not a lot gets changed there. It's pretty much me. But yeah.
Very good. So you've mentioned that you're an animator, and that's at WildBrain.
Correct.
Can you mention some of the projects that you've worked on for people to recognize your work?
Yeah, of course. I started in the animation industry way back in 2017 on Carmen Sandiego for Netflix. I was a posing artist, and then I went on to do Last Kids on Earth, and I have done Pinecone and Pony, which is really cool because Kate Beaton is also a huge inspiration of mine, and that series was done in Ottawa. It's based on her book, The Princess and the Pony. Recently, I've worked on Charlie Brown, the Charlie Brown specials for Apple TV, and they've won a bunch of awards, which is pretty cool. And that has been the most fulfilling project I've done up to date. And now I'm working on some stuff I can't talk about.
I bet. Yeah. Well, that's lots of great stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people do appreciate you and your work that you do, especially in this household. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Um, I do have to ask you, though, as an artist and creator,
Uh,
can you tell me about the intersection between animation and comic book creation? Is there like a Venn diagram where there's something in the middle that overlaps?
yeah. So I would say strong posing and composition. It's really helpful as an animator. These are things that I'm looking for all the time. Strong lines of action, visual storytelling. We do get storyboards first as animators, so the story is already mapped out for us. It's just kind of how can we plus it? Yeah, so I would say that's kind of like the biggest thing for me. On the Covey project that I did, the Charlie Brown specials, I was really able to act out every scene. I would record myself and really get into the character's intentions. I have my bachelor's in performance art. So I used to like break down all of the scripts that I would get. And I did that on this show for the first time ever because it's more like in between TV and film. So I would say that project really helped make me feel confident enough to do my own work. It felt like I had so much more involvement and was able to contribute more. So yeah, I think those are the biggest crossovers. It depends. I think as a storyboard artist, you probably are more inclined to have more in common with comic books.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have heard talking to other folks in the industry that animation is a group effort. It's not
Oh
just a
gosh.
singular thing. So the
Yes.
the escape and quotation marks of making your own comic book is sort of works well. It's just a natural progression to go off and do your own thing. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah. Yes. There's a
Okay.
lot of people needed to create a comic book, even though it's a ton of work. Yeah. A little more feasible.
Sure. So we're talking about Après Camille. Do you have any other projects on the go that you can talk about from a comic book perspective? I know not on animation, of course.
Yeah, I've started doing really slowly on the side of doing like the printing for my books. I'm just doing silly little like kind of autobiographical comic book strips. I just started those. They're going to be traditional. I feel like I really need that in my life right now. And as a little reset from working, like grinding out pages on the comic, which I love to do, I think I need to do this for me as well. So those are going to be coming out slowly. Maybe they'll be a proper book one day, but for now, I'll probably just have them as zines and kind of make it my own thing. Yeah, I've had a lot of inspiration from Kate Beaton. I'm reading Ducks right now, and it's that kind of thing, but short form. And then obviously animation. So
Right.
those things take up all my time.
I bet.
Yes.
Well, speaking of spare time, are you planning to exhibit at any upcoming festivals or events?
Yeah, actually, I am going to be doing the very first Rain City Comic Con, which is in Vancouver. That's May 24th. It's just the one-day event. It's kind of taking place at Vancouver this year. And then I'm doing the East Coast Comic Expo again, which is in Moncton, June 13th and 14th. And I think my dad's going to come with me to that event again, which is pretty nice. Then the Prairie Comic Festival in Manitoba in September.
Wow, sounds like you're going to be busy.
Yes.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, with everything that you have going on today and in the future, where do you recommend that people go online to find you?
Oh, yes. My Instagram is probably where I keep everything the most up to date and I post about events I'm doing. So that's just my name, Meg Leader. And I have a website. It's megleader.art. I have webtoons. I don't post as regularly anymore. I'm kind of in a transition right now. Yeah, I would say Instagram is the best place to find me and at events in person because I really like connecting with people. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, Meg, those are all the questions I have for you, but I'm wondering, is there something I didn't ask that you'd like to get across in this interview?
I guess the big thing about my work and what I've been exploring lately is the Canadian mosaic and how important I think that is. So I hope that my work can relate to a lot of people. I hope it can relate to a lot of women. I know we need to have more voices from women in Canada. And so I don't know. I hope that I can reach people like the people in my community have, made me want to change the purpose for my life, really. So yeah, I hope everybody enjoys. And that's pretty much it, paying it forward and hoping to always inspire and keep being inspired by everyone around.
Thanks to Meg for the chat. You can discover more about Meg online at megleaderart.com and on Instagram at instagram.com/megleader. And thank you for tuning in to the True North Country Comics podcast. I invite you to visit the True North Country Comics website to listen to even more creators and their insight on making comic books and graphic novels. I also encourage you to subscribe via the website so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You can follow along True North Country Comics on most social media sites, and you're welcome to send any and all feedback to John at truenorthcountrycomics.com. Thanks for tuning in, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2025.